Welcome, classmates. Welcome, folks. Today is another episode of your infotainment series from the Philippine Guild of Watercolorist, Water and Technicolor, where we provide you with set of information and training to better up your skills when it regards to watercolor painting. Wow. Well, for today's episode, we have a little secret. Well, do you have any guess? We have a guest, and that's the guest. Who's this guest? Well, she's gonna teach us more of her techniques in painting watercolor. And you might probably be wondering, is it for those who are painting new in watercolors? Well, yeah, of course, it does apply to those who've been painting in watercolors. Even I myself were surprised by what I'm going to learn with this one. Well, I don't want to delay any further, and so that you won't have any more spoilers, I see. So, let us welcome for today's episode of Water and Technicolor with our guest artist. Let's get our brushes, let's get our paper, and let's get your paints so we can start painting.
Good evening mga kasining, this is Bianca and tonight, let's talk about pouring. You will need your usual watercolor materials, but in addition to that, I want you to find a small container, plastic or ceramic would do, where you can thin your paint with water. So basically pouring is using a thinned paint. It can be applied in watercolor, acrylic or even gouache. So, I will wet my paper with clean water, and you just need to literally pour your thin paint over your paper. Let gravity do its thing and tilt your board if you're using a watercolor paper taped on a board, or your watercolor block or your watercolor pad, and let the pigments travel on the paper. This is a fun way to get to know your colors, or if you want a livelier background, or if you just want to loosen up, experiment, and learn at the same time. Here I used Moon Glow by Daniel Smith, and I love how this turned out. I never actually used this color before, and now it is starting to become one of my favorites. Next, I will do the same thing, but this time, I'm going to use two colors. One light, which is lavender, and a darker one, which is neutral tint. This could get messy, especially if you're trying this for the first time and you don't know how much of that thin paint to pour on your paper. So make sure that you have a rag or a tissue ready to wipe off those excess thin paint around your paper. And once it dries, it is so lovely. Next, I'm going to have a play here with warm colors. I have Naples Yellow, Scarlet Lake, and Cadmium Orange, mimicking the colors of a sunset. And once I am satisfied with how it looks, I will stop tilting my board and ta-da! Now, if you want a more advanced technique, you may use your masking materials. Here, I used a masking tape and a cutter or an art blade to cut off and cover a small circle that represents my moon. And I used 4 colors to suggest the colors of a night sky. And finally, I'm going to try it with a well-known granulating pigment, which is ultramarine, and I'm going to pair that with Naples Yellow, and let's see how that looks. I'm liking how this is looking, where the ultramarine is touching, the granulation is becoming more and more apparent, and I love the final result. I enjoyed this technique so much that I've done this more than 10 times the first time I tried it. and here are some of my output. Let us know in the comments below if you've been using this technique and share your artwork with us, or if this is just your first time giving this a try. We hope you learned something from today's episode and see you next week. Thanks, bye!
Amazing, isn't it? There are more ways to paint watercolors rather than just a wet-into-wet painting. Well, that was interesting, it was fun, and that's so much enjoyment with those techniques. Thank you, Bianca. That was Bianca Borlagdan Luztre with her techniques. So, do you still want her to teach you more about her personal information with regards to watercolor painting? So, if so, stay tuned, because in the next episode, she's gonna teach you more of her techniques and secrets in watercolor painting. Well, if you have any questions with regards to other topics, we want to hear from you. So why don't you drop your questions down in the comment section and subscribe, of course, to our YouTube channel with the Philippine Guild of Watercolorist. The description is down below, and it will help our artist if you could subscribe to her channel as well. There's a ton and load of information if you do. So please check again the information right here, or in the comment section, or in the description box. Thank you, folks. That's all the time that we have. So this is again your artist, Emmanuel Silva, your host, and stay tuned for our next episode of Water and Technicolor. See you guys. Let's get painting.